You're finished, Serafina. I'll walk away with everything, Rowan Ellington crowed, his mocking laughter echoing through the Atlanta courtroom as he leaned toward Aurora Fairchild, her diamond ring glinting smugly. Serafina Tate's heart pounded, her sleek black hair pinned high with a silver clasp, her poised exterior masking a storm of fury. On her phone, a photo lingered, Rowan kissing Aurora in a penthouse, a betrayal exposed months ago, but now fueling her resolve. His smug toast to their 6-year marriage was a lie, unraveling in this courtroom showdown. This saga of deceit and fierce retribution will grip you. Subscribe and share. Watching from Miami at noon or Chicago at midnight? Serafina's calm gaze hides a plan that will topple Rowan's empire. Her next move, born from pain, will leave him stunned, rewriting their story in a blaze of justice. Serafina Tate's heart fluttered with anticipation as she adjusted the silver clasp pinning her sleek black hair, her reflection in the restaurant's mirrored wall, radiating elegance. The soft clink of glasses and murmurs of Atlanta's elite filled the air, but her focus was on the man across the table. Rowan Ellington, her husband of 6 years, his tailored suit as sharp as his smile. Tonight was their anniversary, a milestone she'd planned with meticulous care, just as she'd orchestrated their life together. She'd traded her marketing career to fuel Rowan's consulting empire, managing his schedules, charming his clients, and pouring her savings into his dreams. The candlelight flickered, casting a warm glow on his face as he raised his wineglass. "To us, Sarah," he said, his voice smooth as velvet. 6 years of perfection." Her smile widened, but it froze when his phone buzzed on the table, the screen lighting up like a traitor's confession. A notification flashed, a photo from Aurora Fairchild, his assistant. Serafina's breath caught as the image loaded. Rowan, his lips pressed against Aurora's in what looked like a penthouse suite, her blonde hair spilling over his shoulder. The timestamp seared into her mind, yesterday when he'd claimed a late client meeting. Her pulse thundered, drowning out the restaurant's hum. She stared, her hand trembling around her glass, as more images auto-loaded. Rowan's hand on Aurora's waist, Aurora in a silk robe, their texts dripping with baby and my love. Each word was a dagger, slicing through the life she thought they'd built. "Sarah, you okay?" Rowan's voice cut through her haze, his hand reaching for the phone. But Serafina was faster, snatching it up, her eyes locked on the damning evidence. "Who is she, Rowan?" Her voice was steady, a stark contrast to the storm raging inside her. His face blanched, then flushed red, his charm crumbling like cheap plaster. Then to her shock, he laughed, a cold, careless sound that echoed in her bones. "Look, Sarah, I didn't want you to find out like this, but maybe it's for the best." He leaned back, casual as if discussing a business deal. "Aurora and I, it's real, not this stagnant marriage we've been dragging along." The words hit like a physical blow, stealing her breath. Stagnant? She'd given up her dreams, her savings, $50,000 to start his company. Her nights spent perfecting his proposals while he built his name. She'd hosted client dinners, smiled through exhaustion, all for him. And now he sat there, dismissing it all. "I was going to tell you tonight," he continued, his tone infuriatingly calm. "I filed for divorce. It's cleaner this way. You can keep the car, maybe some cash to get you started. I'll take the business and the house. It's in my name after all." Serafina's mind reeled. The house, her house, where she'd planted the garden, chosen the furniture, paid half the deposit with her savings, was his? She opened her mouth, but her voice caught, trapped beneath the weight of betrayal. Rowan reached into his jacket, pulling out a manila folder. "These are the papers. I've signed them. It's fair, Sarah. You'll be fine." She flipped open the folder with shaking hands. The divorce papers were cold, clinical, listing the business, their savings, even her car as his. She'd get a pittance, $60,000, a fraction of their wealth, while he kept millions. "Fair?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. Rowan shrugged, sipping his wine. "Aurora gets me, Sarah. She's young, vibrant, part of my world. You've been comfortable, Too comfortable. His words burned, each one a reminder of the nights she'd stayed up, the sacrifices she'd made, the love she'd poured into a man who'd been living a lie. How long? She demanded, her voice sharp now. He sighed as if she were the unreasonable one. 2 years, give or take. It happened, Sarah. We grew apart. 2 years. 2 years of him coming home, kissing her cheek, sharing her bed, while he built a life with Aurora. Her mind flashed to the Christmas party she'd hosted, Aurora smiling politely as Serafina offered her wine, oblivious to the affair unfolding under her nose. She felt like a fool, her elegance a mockery, her devotion a joke. I need air, she said, standing on unsteady legs, clutching the phone. Rowan waved a hand dismissively. Don't make this messy, Sarah. Sign the papers. Let's be adults. She stumbled to the restroom, the restaurant's opulence fading to a blur. In the mirror, her reflection stared back. A beautiful black woman, 34, with flawless skin and fierce eyes. But inside, she was fracturing. She splashed cold water on her face, the shock grounding her. Rowan expected her to crumble, to sign his papers and fade away. He thought she was the naive wife he'd married, too trusting to fight back. But as her tears dried, a fire ignited in her chest. She wasn't that woman anymore. Serafina returned to the table, her composure a fragile mask. Rowan was texting, likely to Aurora, his lips curled in a smug grin. You're being reasonable, right? He asked, not looking up. I'll sign, she said softly, her voice steady now. But I want my own lawyer to review everything. Rowan's smile faltered, just for a second. No need for that, Sarah. It's straightforward. She met his gaze, her eyes hard. I insist. For clarity. He shrugged, calling for the check, but she saw the flicker of unease in his eyes. As he paid, she memorized his arrogance. The way he laughed, the way he assumed she'd vanish quietly. Serafina had spent 6 years being the perfect wife, but now a new resolve took root. Rowan thought he'd won. He was wrong. She would be his reckoning, and he'd never see it coming. Serafina Tate's heels clicked on the hardwood floor of their suburban Atlanta home, each step a rebellion against the heartbreak clawing at her chest. The house, once a sanctuary of shared dreams, now felt like a stage for Rowan Ellington's betrayal. She left the restaurant hours ago, her mind replaying his cold laughter, his dismissive words. Aurora gets me, Sarah. The sting of those words burned deeper than the photo of him kissing Aurora Fairchild, his assistant. Serafina, her sleek black hair still pinned high with a silver clasp, stood in their living room, staring at the wedding photo on the mantel, her smile radiant, his a lie. She'd poured 6 years into this marriage, her savings, her career, her soul, only to be discarded like an outdated contract. Her phone buzzed, snapping her out of her thoughts. A text from her sister, Maya Tate, a tenacious investigative journalist. How was the anniversary? Did he get you that necklace you wanted? Serafina's laugh was bitter, more sob than chuckle. Necklace? Rowan had given her divorce papers instead, neatly packaged to strip her of everything. House, savings, dignity. She typed back, he's leaving me for Aurora, filed for divorce. I need you. Within minutes, Maya was calling. Sarah, what the hell happened? Maya's voice was sharp, protective. Serafina recounted the restaurant scene. The damning photo, Rowan's smug confession, the papers claiming his business and their home. Maya's outrage crackled through the phone. That bastard thinks he can walk all over you. You're not signing anything. I know a lawyer, Claudia Reed. She's a shark. I'm coming over. Serafina paced, her fury growing with each step. She'd helped Rowan build his consulting empire, managing his chaotic schedules, charming clients with her wit, and sinking $50,000 of her savings into his startup. Now he dared to call their marriage stagnant? She stopped at his home office, a room she rarely entered, trusting him to handle the finances. The desk was pristine, but something felt off, too orderly, like a stage set. Her fingers hovered over his laptop. He'd given her the password years ago, their anniversary date, a cruel irony now. She typed it in, her heart pounding as the screen unlocked. The email inbox was a labyrinth of secrets, Work messages mingled with personal ones, and buried in a folder labeled Client Notes were emails from Aurora, stretching back 2 years. "Can't wait to be free, baby," one read, dated 6 months ago. "Sarah's too clueless to notice." Another from Aurora. "You're a genius for moving the money. She'll sign anything." Serafina's blood boiled, her hands trembling as she scrolled. They weren't just lovers. They were conspirators, plotting to rob her blind. She found bank statements for accounts she didn't recognize, transfers to a Miami penthouse, and documents for a shell company, Ellington Ventures, listed solely in Rowan's name. Her $50,000, her labor, her connections, erased from his empire. Her phone buzzed again. Maya now at the door. Serafina let her in. The sisters embrace a lifeline in the storm. Maya, with her fierce eyes and no-nonsense braid, took one look at Serafina's face and knew. "Show me everything," she said, her journalist instincts kicking in. They sat at the kitchen table, Serafina pulling up the emails on her tablet. Maya's jaw tightened as she read Aurora's taunts. "Clueless, that little snake, and this Miami penthouse. Sarah, he's hiding assets. This isn't just cheating, it's theft." Serafina nodded, her shock hardening into resolve. "He thinks I'll just walk away with $60,000 in a car. He's wrong." Maya grabbed her phone, dialing Claudia Reed. "Claudia, it's Maya Tate. My sister needs you. Her husband's trying to screw her over in a divorce." Serafina listened as Maya outlined the situation, her voice steady but laced with fury. Claudia's response was calm, commanding. "Bring everything you found to my office tomorrow. Emails, statements, anything. If he's hiding assets, we'll bury him." Serafina felt a spark of hope, the first since the restaurant. Maya hung up, her eyes blazing. "Sarah, you built his business as much as he did. You're not some naive housewife. You're a force. He's about to learn that." Serafina walked upstairs to their bedroom, her mind racing. Rowan's closet was half empty, his designer suits, his favorite watch, gone. He'd been planning this for months, packing up his life while she planned their anniversary. On her dresser sat the gift she'd bought him, a custom leather briefcase, new $1,500 of her savings, chosen because he'd admired it in a store window. The receipt mocked her, a reminder of her trust. She sank onto the bed, her fingers tracing the silver clasp in her hair, a gift from her late mother, a symbol of her strength. She wasn't the fool Aurora thought she was. Her phone rang. Rowan. "Sarah, let's keep this civil," he said, his voice dripping with condescension. "I'm at Aurora's. Sign the papers and we can both move on. I'll even throw in an extra $10,000 for you." Her anger flared, but she kept her tone soft, deceptive. "I'm still processing, Rowan. I'll look at the papers soon." He chuckled, relieved. "Good girl. No need to drag this out." Good girl. The words lit a fire in her. He thought he'd won, but he'd awakened something dangerous. A woman who'd given everything and now had nothing to lose. As she hung up, Serafina looked at the wedding photo again. The woman in it, smiling and trusting, was gone. In her place was someone new, fueled by betrayal and ready to fight. Rowan and Aurora thought they'd outsmarted her, but they'd underestimated Serafina Tate. She'd spent years building his world. Now she'd tear it down, piece by piece, and reclaim what was hers. Serafina Tate's fingers tightened around her coffee mug, the warmth grounding her as she sat across from her sister Maya in their Atlanta kitchen. The sting of Rowan Ellington's betrayal still burned, his mocking good girl from last night's call echoing in her mind. Her sleek black hair, pinned high with a silver clasp, caught the morning light, a quiet symbol of her resolve. She wasn't the naive wife Rowan and Aurora Fairchild thought they could bury. The emails she'd found, proof of their 2-year affair and hidden assets, had lit a fire in her, and she was ready to fight. Maya, her fierce eyes scanning the printed emails spread across the table, slammed her hand down. "This isn't just cheating, Sarah. It's robbery. Claudia Reed will eat him alive." Serafina nodded, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and determination. She was done being a victim. The drive to Claudia Reed's downtown Atlanta office felt like a march into battle. Serafina clutched a folder stuffed with damning evidence. Bank statements, emails, and property records for a Miami penthouse Rowan thought she'd never find. Maya in the passenger seat was on the phone, her journalist's edge sharp as she briefed Claudia. She's got everything. Transfers, shell companies, Aurora's smug little notes, Rowan's toast. Serafina's lips twitched into a grim smile. For 6 years, she'd poured her soul into Rowan's success. $50,000 of her savings, countless nights managing his clients, her marketing expertise shaping his empire. Now he wanted to leave her with scraps while he and Aurora laughed their way to millions. Claudia Reed's office was a fortress of glass and steel, but the woman herself was a force of nature. In her early 50s, with sharp gray eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor, Claudia exuded the kind of confidence that could dismantle men like Rowan. "Tell me everything," she said, gesturing to a leather chair. Serafina spilled the story: the restaurant betrayal, the photos of Rowan with Aurora, the divorce papers designed to rob her blind. She handed over the folder, her hands steady despite the storm inside. "He thinks I'll sign and walk away with $60,000, she said, her voice low but fierce. "He's hiding millions, accounts I didn't know about, a penthouse, a company in his name only." Claudia flipped through the documents, her expression darkening with each page. "This is fraud, Serafina. He's been moving marital assets for years, likely planning this divorce long before he told you." She leaned forward, her voice cutting like a blade. "His business, your house, your savings. It's all marital property under Georgia law. You're entitled to half, maybe more, given this deception." Serafina's breath caught. Half. The word felt like a lifeline, a chance to reclaim what she'd built. Claudia continued, "I'm bringing in Victor Hayes, a forensic accountant. He'll trace every penny. If Rowan's hiding assets, we'll find them." Maya grinned, her journalist instincts buzzing. "Sarah, you're not just getting a divorce, you're taking him down." Serafina felt a surge of power, the first since that shattering dinner. She wasn't just fighting for money, she was fighting for her dignity, her worth, the years she'd sacrificed. Claudia made a call, her tone commanding. "Victor, I've got a case. Hidden assets, offshore accounts, the works. Can you meet us today?" The response was immediate, and within hours Victor Hayes arrived. A wiry man in his 40s with a quiet intensity, his laptop already open. Victor scanned the bank statements, his fingers flying over the keys. "Rowan's clever but sloppy," he said, pointing to a transfer dated a year ago. "He moved $200,000 to an account tied to Ellington Ventures. It's a shell company, and your name's nowhere on it. But your $50,000 seed money? That's marital property. He can't hide it." Serafina's jaw tightened. Every dollar she'd given, every client she'd won for him, was being stolen. Victor's eyes gleamed. "There's more. The Miami penthouse, $800,000 paid in cash. And I'm seeing patterns that suggest bigger accounts. I'll need a week, but I'm betting his business is worth at least $4 million. Not the $300,000 he claims." Serafina's heart raced. $4 million. Rowan had lied about everything. His business, their wealth, their marriage. She thought of Aurora's email, calling her clueless. The insult fueled her. "What's next?" she asked Claudia. "We file a response to his divorce petition, contesting everything," Claudia said. "We demand full financial disclosure and freeze his assets. He won't move a dime until we're done." Maya squeezed Serafina's hand. "You're not alone in this, sis. He picked the wrong woman to mess with." That evening, Rowan called, his voice tight with irritation. "Sarah, what's this about a lawyer? I told you the papers are fair. Don't complicate things." Serafina's pulse quickened, but she kept her tone soft, a calculated mask. "I just want to understand everything, Rowan. Claudia's helping me read the fine print." He scoffed, but she caught the edge of unease. "You're wasting money. I'm offering you $70,000 now. Take it and move on." 70,000 out of millions. Her anger flared, but she swallowed it. "I'll think about it," she lied, hanging up before he could reply. Alone in her kitchen, Serafina traced the silver clasp in her hair, her mother's voice echoing in her memory. "You're stronger than you know." Rowan thought he could erase her from his empire, but he'd awakened a warrior. With Claudia's expertise, Victor's precision, and Maya's fire, Serafina was building an army. She wasn't just fighting for her share. She was fighting for justice, for every sleepless night she'd spent building his dreams. Rowan's laughter would turn to panic soon enough. Serafina Tate's pulse thrummed with a mix of dread and defiance as she stepped into the upscale Atlanta restaurant, the same one where her world had shattered a week ago. Her sleek black hair, swept high with a silver clasp, gleamed under the chandelier's glow, her tailored navy dress a silent declaration of her strength. She'd agreed to meet Rowan Ellington here to discuss the divorce, but this wasn't about negotiation. It was about showing him she wasn't the broken wife he expected. The evidence she'd uncovered with Maya, emails, bank transfers, a Miami penthouse, burned in her mind, fueling her resolve. Rowan thought he'd walk away with millions, leaving her with crumbs. Tonight, she'd make him squirm. Rowan sat at a corner table, his arm draped around Aurora Fairchild, whose blonde hair cascaded over a crimson dress that screamed confidence. A diamond ring sparkled on her finger, a garish symbol of their betrayal. Serafina's stomach twisted, but she forced her face into a calm mask, her dark eyes sharp as she approached. Rowan's smile was smug, his voice dripping with condescension. "Sarah, glad you're being reasonable. Let's keep this civil." "Yeah?" Aurora's lips curled, her gaze raking over Serafina with a mix of pity and triumph. "We just want what's best for everyone," Aurora purred, her hand brushing Rowan's. Serafina slid into the seat across from them, her movements deliberate. "Civil sounds good," she said, her voice smooth but laced with steel. She set her purse down, the folder of evidence tucked inside, a weapon she wasn't ready to reveal. "I've been thinking about your offer, Rowan. $70,000 in the car, right?" His eyes lit up, mistaking her calm for surrender. "Exactly. It's generous, Sarah. You'll be set to start over." Aurora nodded, her smile widening, as if Serafina were a child being placated. The audacity of it set her blood boiling, but she kept her composure, letting them underestimate her. "I have a question," Serafina said, leaning forward, her gaze locking onto Rowan's. "The Miami penthouse, $800,000 paid in cash. Is that part of your generous offer?" The air shifted, Rowan's smile freezing as Aurora's hand stiffened on his arm. "What penthouse?" he said, his voice tight, a crack in his polished facade. Serafina tilted her head, her expression innocent. "The one in your name, bought last year. I found the records. And Ellington Ventures, that's yours too, isn't it? Funny how my $50,000 helped start it, but I'm not listed anywhere." Aurora's eyes widened, her confidence faltering. "That's just business, Serafina," she said, her tone sharp now. "You wouldn't understand." Serafina's laugh was low, cutting. "Oh, I understand. I understand every client I brought to Rowan, every late night I spent on his proposals, every dollar of my savings that built his empire. And I understand you, Aurora, calling me clueless in your emails." The color drained from Aurora's face, her ringed hand dropping to her lap. Rowan's jaw clenched, his charm replaced by panic. "Sarah, you're blowing this out of proportion. Those are my assets, not ours." "Your assets?" Serafina's voice rose, steady but fierce. "I gave up my career for you, Rowan. I introduced you to clients who made you millions. I paid half the deposit on our house. And you think you can steal it all?" She leaned back, crossing her arms, her silver clasp catching the light like a beacon of her strength. Rowan leaned forward, his voice low, urgent. "Don't make this ugly, Sarah. My lawyer says you've got no claim to my business. Sign the papers and we're done." Serafina's heart pounded, but she held his gaze unflinching. "I've hired Claudia Reed," she said, letting the name drop like a bomb. "She's reviewing everything. Your accounts, your business investments, your lies. I'm not signing until every penny is accounted for." Aurora gasped, her veneer of superiority crumbling. "You're dragging this out for nothing," she snapped, but her voice wavered. Rowan's hand gripped the table, his knuckles white. "Claudia Reed? Sarah, she's a vulture. She'll bleed us both dry." "Us?" Serafina's smile was cold, lethal. "There's no us anymore, Rowan. You made that clear when you chose her." She nodded at Aurora, whose face now burned with embarrassment. "I just want what's fair. And trust me, I'll get it." She stood, her movements graceful but commanding, leaving the folder in her purse. For now. Rowan's eyes followed her, a flicker of fear betraying his bravado. "This isn't over," he called after her, but his voice lacked conviction. As Serafina walked out, the restaurant's murmurs faded, her pulse steadying with each step. She'd seen the cracks in Rowan's armor, the panic in Aurora's eyes. They thought they could bully her into submission, but they'd miscalculated. Her phone buzzed. Maya checking in. "How'd it go?" her sister asked. Serafina's lips curved into a determined smile. "They're scared, Maya, and they should be." She wasn't just fighting for her share. She was fighting for the woman she'd become, forged in betrayal and ready to reclaim her life. Rowan's empire was built on her sacrifices, and she'd make sure he paid for everyone. Serafina Tate's heart raced as she sat in Victor Hayes' cramped Atlanta office, her sleek black hair pinned high with a silver clasp, a quiet anchor amidst the storm of revelations. The confrontation with Rowan Ellington and Aurora Fairchild at the lounge had left her electrified, their panicked faces proof she'd struck a nerve. But today, Victor, the forensic accountant with a predator's focus, was about to unveil truths that would shake her to her core. Her sister Maya sat beside her journalist's instincts buzzing, her braids swinging as she leaned forward. "What have you got, Victor?" Maya asked, her voice sharp with anticipation. Serafina's fingers tightened around her coffee cup, her dark eyes locked on the spreadsheets spread across the desk. She'd known Rowan was hiding assets, but the scale of his deception was about to unravel her world. Victor's voice was calm, but his words landed like bombs. "Rowan's not just hiding money, he's running a full-blown scam." He slid a chart toward them, lines and numbers tracing a web of deceit. "His consulting firm's been siphoning client funds into fake investment schemes, promising high returns while he pockets millions. I've traced $6 million in losses across 15 families." Serafina's breath caught, her mind reeling. $6 million. Families ruined while she'd been playing the perfect wife, oblivious to the monster she'd married. "He used my connections," she whispered, her voice thick with disgust. "The clients I brought him, they trusted him because of me." Maya's hand gripped hers, grounding her. "This isn't your fault, Sarah. He's a predator." Victor nodded, pulling up another document. "There's more. That Miami penthouse, it's not just a hideaway. It's titled to Aurora, purchased with client money. She's complicit, whether she admits it or not." Serafina's stomach twisted, Aurora's smug smirk from the lounge flashing in her mind. The woman who'd called her clueless wasn't just a mistress. She was a partner in Rowan's crimes. Victor tapped his screen. "I've also found a second business, Coastal Ventures, registered in Delaware. It's a front, funneling another $1.2 million into offshore accounts. Your $50,000 seed money is tangled in it." Serafina's fury surged, her composure cracking. She'd given up her marketing career, her dreams to build Rowan's empire, only to learn he'd used her to scam others. "How could I not see this?" she said, her voice trembling with self-reproach. Maya's eyes blazed. "Because he's a liar, Sarah. A good one. But we've got him now." Victor's expression hardened. "He's been planning this for years, Serafina. The divorce was his exit strategy. Clean out the accounts, disappear with Aurora, leave you with nothing." The words hit like a slap, but they also steeled her resolve. Rowan wasn't just betraying her. He was destroying lives. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Check your email. You need to know who Rowan really is." A friend. Serafina's pulse quickened as she opened her inbox. Attached were photos. Rowan with a brunette at a hotel bar, another with a redhead at a yacht party, timestamps spanning the last 2 years. A note from the sender, Emily Carter, Rowan's former assistant, read, "He's been lying to everyone, including Aurora. I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner." Serafina's jaw tightened, her anger now a white-hot flame. Rowan wasn't just unfaithful to her. He was a serial cheater, manipulating women to feed his ego. Maya scanned the photos, her voice low. "This guy's a walking disaster. We need to use this." Serafina nodded, forwarding the email to Claudia Reed, her lawyer. "Claudia needs to see this. It's not just about the money anymore." She dialed Claudia, her voice steady despite the chaos within. "We've got more evidence," she said, recounting Victor's findings and Emily's photos. Claudia's response was sharp and decisive. "This changes everything, Serafina. Rowan's scam is criminal. I'm looping in the FBI. Meet me tomorrow with Victor and Maya. We're taking this to Special Agent Lauren Brooks." Serafina hung up, her mind racing. The FBI. Rowan's world was crumbling, and she was the one pulling the strings. But the weight of his victims' losses, 15 families, their savings gone, pressed on her chest. She thought of the clients she'd introduced, their trust in Rowan now shattered. "I helped him do this," she said softly, her eyes stinging. Maya grabbed her shoulders, fierce. "No, Sarah. You were his shield, not his sword. He used you, but you're stopping him now." Victor added, "We're close to locking down his accounts. He won't run." That night, alone in her bedroom, Serafina traced the silver clasp in her hair, her mother's voice echoing. "You're stronger than you know." Rowan had built his empire on lies, but she'd built it with her heart. Now she'd use her mind to dismantle it. The photos from Emily, Victor's charts, Claudia's strategy, they were her arsenal. Rowan thought he could erase her, but he'd awakened a force he couldn't control. Serafina wasn't just fighting for herself, she was fighting for every life he'd ruined, and she wouldn't stop until justice was served. Serafina Tate stood at the steps of the Atlanta courthouse, her heart a drumbeat of resolve and nerves, her sleek black hair pinned high with a silver clasp that caught the morning sun. Her navy suit hugged her frame, a symbol of the strength she'd forged through weeks of betrayal and battle. Today she faced Rowan Ellington in court, the man who'd tried to steal her life with a smirk and a signature. The evidence, $6 million in client fraud, hidden accounts, Aurora Fairchild's complicity, burned in her mind, a fire stoked by Claudia Reed's strategy and Victor Hayes's relentless digging. Serafina wasn't the broken wife Rowan expected. She was a warrior, ready to dismantle his empire. Inside Family Court 3, the air crackled with tension. Rowan sat at the defendant's table, his expensive suit pristine, his arm around Aurora, whose white dress and diamond ring screamed defiance. Their laughter, low and smug, grated on Serafina's nerves as she took her seat beside Claudia, Maya's fierce gaze bolstering her from the gallery. "He thinks he's untouchable," Maya whispered, her voice sharp. Serafina nodded, her dark eyes locked on Rowan. His confidence was a mask, but she saw the flicker of unease in his glance. Tumfan Alicia Harper, a stern woman in her 60s, with eyes that missed nothing, banged her gavel. "Let's begin," she said, her voice slicing through the room. Rowan's lawyer, Edward Vance, rose, his tone slick. "Your Honor, this is a simple divorce. Mr. Ellington offers Ms. Tate a generous $70,000 settlement, allowing both parties to move forward." Serafina's jaw tightened. Generous? Rowan had hidden millions, built on her sacrifices, $50,000 of her savings, her client connections, her years as his unpaid partner. Claudia stood, her presence commanding. "Objection, Your Honor. Mr. Ellington's settlement is a farce, designed to defraud Ms. Tate of her rightful share." She strode to the evidence table, her voice steady. "Ms. Tate contributed $50,000 to start Mr. Ellington's business, managed his clients, and secured contracts worth millions. Yet he's concealed assets, $4 million in business value, a $800,000 Miami penthouse, and offshore accounts." Rowan's smile faltered, Aurora's hand gripping his arm as Claudia handed documents to the judge. "We have proof of fraud, Your Honor, including a $6 million investment scheme defrauding 15 families." Tim Fawn Harper's eyebrows rose as she scanned the papers. "Mr. Vance, your client claimed his business is worth $300,000. These documents suggest $4 million. Explain." Vance stammered. "Your Honor, valuations vary. My client's filing was conservative." Harper's eyes narrowed. Conservative or fraudulent? Serafina's heart pounded, a surge of vindication rising. Victor Hayes took the stand, his voice precise. "I've traced $6 million in client losses to Mr. Ellington's fake investment schemes. The Miami penthouse is titled to Miss Fairchild, purchased with stolen funds. Aurora gasped, her face paling, her ringed hand trembling. Claudia pressed forward, relentless. We also have evidence of Mr. Ellington's affairs, including photos from a former assistant, showing a pattern of deception spanning 2 years. She handed over Emily Carter's email, the images of Rowan with other women flashing on the courtroom screen. Rowan's face drained of color, his confidence shattered. Aurora's eyes widened, her whisper to Rowan audible. Other women? Serafina's lips twitched, a flicker of satisfaction. Their united front was crumbling. Harper turned to Rowan, her voice icy. Mr. Ellington, did you attempt to hide marital assets and defraud your wife? Rowan's lawyer whispered frantically. But Rowan stood, his voice shaking. I invoke my Fifth Amendment rights, Your Honor. The courtroom fell silent, his refusal a deafening admission. Harper's gaze shifted to Aurora. Miss Fairchild, you're listed as co-owner of the penthouse. Were you aware these were marital funds? Aurora's voice cracked. I thought it was a gift. Harper's expression hardened. A gift bought with stolen money. The judge studied the evidence, her silence heavy. Mr. Ellington, this is blatant fraud, she declared. You've deceived your wife, your clients, and this court. I'm awarding Ms. Tate 65% of all marital assets, approximately $2.5 million, as compensation for your actions. Serafina's breath caught, victory washing over her. Harper continued. All assets are frozen pending a criminal investigation. Mr. Ellington, surrender your passport. You and Ms. Fairchild remain in this jurisdiction. Handcuffs clicked as officers approached Rowan, his face ashen. Aurora sobbed, her ring now a shackle. Serafina stood, her heart soaring as she passed Rowan's table. He glared, his voice low. You've ruined me, Sarah. She met his gaze, unflinching. No, Rowan, you ruined yourself. I just made sure you didn't take me down with you. As she walked out with Claudia and Maya, the weight of 6 years lifted. She wasn't just a wife scorned. She was a force, reclaiming her life with every step. Serafina Tate stood in the doorway of her Decatur bungalow, her sleek black hair swept high with a silver clasp, its gleam catching the morning sun like a badge of her newfound strength. 6 months had passed since the Atlanta courtroom, where Rowan Ellington's empire of lies collapsed, his smug laughter drowned by the click of handcuffs and a 15-year sentence for fraud. Serafina's victory, $2.5 million, 65% of their marital assets, was more than money. It was a reclamation of her dignity, her worth, the 6 years she'd poured into a marriage built on deception. Now, in this cozy craftsman home, with its vibrant walls and thriving herb garden, she was crafting a life that answered to no one but herself, a canvas painted with her own dreams. Her phone buzzed, a text from her sister Maya, ever the fierce journalist. Channel 5 now. Rowan's sentencing is everywhere. Serafina's lips curved into a quiet smile as she set her coffee on the kitchen counter, its warmth a contrast to the cold ambition that once defined Rowan's world. She pulled up the news on her tablet, the headline blazing, Atlanta businessman jailed for $6 fraud scheme. The reporter recounted Rowan's crimes, defrauding 15 families, siphoning their savings into fake investments, all while hiding millions from Serafina. The camera panned to victims outside the courthouse, their faces etched with relief. Mrs. Carter, an elderly woman whose savings Serafina had helped recover, spoke softly. Ms. Tate gave us our lives back. Serafina's heart swelled, not with vengeance, but with a purpose that felt like destiny. She'd channeled $1.5 million of her settlement into the Tate Hope Foundation, a lifeline for victims of financial fraud. Today she was meeting Jennifer Walsh, the foundation's executive director, at their new Decatur office, a modest space brimming with potential. Jennifer, with her warm smile and 20 years of victim advocacy, greeted her enthusiastically. Sarah, this is it, she said, her voice alive with excitement. We'll have caseworkers by next month, and applications are flooding in. 3 families are already approved for grants. Serafina's chest tightened with pride, her eyes tracing the empty room where hope would soon take root. The foundation wasn't just a legacy. It was her way of transforming betrayal into healing, ensuring no one else suffered as those families had. Her phone rang. An unexpected name flashing, Aurora Fairchild. Seraphina's pulse quickened, her mind flicking to Aurora's tear-streaked face in court. Her diamond ring a hollow symbol as she faced probation for her role in Rowan's schemes. "Sarah, can we talk?" Aurora's voice was fragile, stripped of its former arrogance. Against her instincts, Seraphina agreed, and soon Aurora stood on her doorstep, her designer facade replaced by worn jeans and a messy ponytail. "I didn't know about the fraud," Aurora said, her eyes red from crying. "Rowan lied to me too. About you, about other women, about everything." Seraphina's anger flared, recalling Aurora's smug emails, but she saw the broken woman before her, caught in Rowan's web. "You chose to help him hurt me," Seraphina said, her voice firm but not cruel. "That's your burden." Aurora nodded, her voice barely audible. "I'm testifying against other scammers to cut my sentence. I'm so sorry, Sarah. For the affair, for my stupidity." Seraphina studied her, the woman who'd once mocked her, now humbled by truth. "I don't forgive you," she said, her tone steady, "but I hope you rebuild something real." As Aurora left, Seraphina felt a quiet release, not forgiveness, but closure, a door closing on the pain of betrayal. That evening, she met Maya at a family-owned Decatur bistro, its warm chatter a stark contrast to the sterile restaurant where Rowan had shattered her world. Maya's journalist eyes sparkled as she raised her glass. "You're glowing, Sarah. Not just happy, but free." Seraphina smiled, her fingers brushing the silver clasp, her mother's gift, a reminder of her resilience. "I wake up excited now," she said. "No more living for someone else." Maya grinned. "To the woman who took down an empire and built a better one." They clinked glasses and Seraphina felt her new life settle into her bones. Back home, a package waited on her porch, a book on nonprofit leadership from Mrs. Carter, with a note, "Thank you for giving us hope." Seraphina carried it to her reading nook, her heart full. Her consultancy was thriving, her marketing skills reborn without Rowan's shadow. The foundation's first grants were saving families, a ripple of change spreading. She thought of Rowan, starting his prison sentence, and Aurora, facing her consequences. They'd tried to erase her, but she'd emerged stronger, her pain forged into purpose. Seraphina opened the book, its pages a promise of impact. Outside, Decatur hummed, neighbors laughing, life unfolding. She wasn't the naive wife who trusted blindly. She was a woman who turned loss into legacy, betrayal into strength. Her future was hers, and it shone with possibility. Seraphina Tate's journey from betrayal to triumph shows us that strength can rise from the ashes of deceit. Her fight for justice and her mission to help others through the Tate Hope Foundation remind us that pain can fuel purpose, inspiring anyone facing their own battles to stand tall. What did Seraphina's story spark in you? Share your thoughts below. How did her courage move you, and where are you watching from? Your voice matters. Thank you for joining us on this unforgettable ride through heartbreak and redemption. We can't wait to share more stories with you, so hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for the next chapter. See you soon.